Hello, Christ is in our midst. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today's Monday, March 9th, 2026, and here are the readings for today. A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verses 9 through 22. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark, and finish it to a cubit above. And set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, and every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every sort shall come into you, to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. And it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. A reading from the prophecy of Isaiah chapter 8, verse 13 through chapter 9, verse 7. But the Lord of hosts, him you shall regard as holy. Let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he will become a sanctuary and a stone of offense and a rock of stumbling to both houses of Israel, a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many shall stumble thereon, and they shall fall and be broken. They shall be snared and taken. Bind up the testimony, seal the teaching among my disciples. I will wait for the Lord, who is hiding his face from the house of Jacob, and I will hope in him. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord has given me are signs and portents in Israel from the Lord of hosts, who dwells on Mount Zion. And when they say to you, consult the mediums and the wizards who chirp and mutter, should not a people consult their God? Should they consult the dead on behalf of the living? To the teaching and to the testimony. Surely for this word which they speak there is no dawn. They will pass through the land greatly distressed and hungry, and when they are hungry they will be enraged and will curse their king and their God, and turn their faces upward. And they will look to the earth, but behold, distress and darkness, the gloom of anguish, and they will be thrust into thick darkness. But there will be no gloom for her that was in anguish. In the former time he brought into contempt the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. But in the latter time he will make glorious the way of the sea, the land beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in the land of deep darkness, on them has light shined. Thou hast multiplied the nation. Thou hast increased its joy. They rejoice before thee as with joy at the harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For the yoke of his burden, and the staff for his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, thou hast broken, as on the day of Midian. For every boot of the trampling warrior in battle tumult, and every garment rolled in blood will be burned as fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder.
and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. A reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 8, verses 1 through 21. Does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, in the paths she takes her stand. Beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud. To you, O men, I call, and my cry is to the sons of men. O simple ones, learn prudence. O foolish men, pay attention. Hear, for I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come what is right, for my mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous. There is nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell in prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance are the way of evil, and perverted speech I hate. I have counsel and sound wisdom. I have insight. I have strength. By me kings reign, and rulers decree what is just. By me princes rule, and nobles govern the earth. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and prosperity. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, in the paths of truth, endowing with wealth those who love me, and filling their treasuries.
Today the Church remembers the 40 martyrs of Sebaste, 40 Roman soldiers who, in the year 320, were ordered to renounce Christ and refused. They were marched onto a frozen lake in Armenia, and they were left to die through the night. A warm bathhouse waited on the shore for anyone who would step out of the water and apostatize. One did. One of the guards, however, watching from the shore, saw a light descending on the 39 who remained, and he himself stepped into the lake and completed the number again. 40 went in, 40 died, 40 were taken. We do not know their names. The Church remembers them together as a body, as a formation, which is perhaps exactly the point. Today's reading from Genesis brings us back to Noah, and this time we are given a closer look. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. 3 things the scriptures say: righteousness, blamelessness, and walking with God. The third is the source of the other 2. God speaks to Noah with startling specificity. He gives dimensions and materials, even to the depths of explaining the wood, cypress wood, as it's stated in the Septuagint, a wood that does not rot. Pitch inside and outside, exact instructions for what must be built. This is not a vague spiritual prompting. It is a blueprint. The fathers read the ark as a type of the church, and once they point this out, it is difficult to unsee. The ark does not prevent the flood, it floats on it. The church does not promise exemption from suffering, loss, and mortality that belong to our fallen condition. She promises something stranger and more useful: a vessel built to divine specifications, sealed against the waters, capable of carrying us through what cannot be stopped. Noah builds this vessel alone. His world has comprehensively chosen otherwise, and he builds anyway, patient, unglamorous, faithful. The 40 soldiers on the frozen lake held their formation through the night without anyone on shore encouraging them to stay. This is what faithfulness often looks like from the outside. People doing what they were asked to do in conditions that argue persuasively against it, because the one who has asked them is worth it. Isaiah 8 and 9 move through the darkness towards an extraordinary light. The people have drifted, not through a single catastrophic choice, but through a cumulative and accumulated inattention, until they are hungry and in the dark, and blaming what is above them for what surrounds them. And then, without warning, the turn. But there will be no gloom for her who is in anguish, he says. The people walking in darkness will see a great light. The people sitting in the shadow of death, upon them a light has dawned. Why? For to us a child is born, to us a son is given. The Greek is emphatic. To us, towards us, in our direction. Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, the one whose government is peace, whose increase has no end. The church reads this at Christmas time, and it reads it here, walking towards Pascha. This is not a mistake. The incarnation and the resurrection are not two separate events accidentally placed in the same religion. They are the same movement, God entering human flesh to carry human flesh through death and out the other side. The 40 martyrs knew this. They stood in the freezing water, not out of stubbornness, but out of confidence that the child given to us had already passed through a far worse darkness, and the passing through was the whole point. St. Gregory Palamas, whose Sunday we celebrated yesterday, would say that the light descending on the martyrs in Sebaste was not a vision, not a symbol, not a creative phenomenon arranged for the occasion. It was the uncreated light, the same light of Tabor, the same divine energy that is given genuinely to those who are, in whatever frozen lake they find themselves, genuinely open to receive it. Proverbs gives us wisdom standing at the crossroads, calling out to anyone who passes. On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads she takes her stand, not hidden, not reserved for the initiated, present at the ordinary thresholds of ordinary days, raising her voice. Origen, in his commentary on John, identified this wisdom with the eternal Logos, the one who was in the beginning, through whom all things were made, who stands at every crossroads, calling in a voice we almost always recognize, even when we pretend otherwise. Sergei Bulgakov and Pavel Florensky pressed this identification further. Hearing in Sophia the eternal delight of God turn towards creation, turn towards us. Sophia, wisdom. And delight is precisely the word. When he established the heavens, I was there. I was rejoicing, full of gladness, delighting in the children of man. Father Thomas Hopko, in his lectures at St. Vladimir's Seminary, returned to this point often, that the first thing God feels towards us is not disappointment, but joy, that our creation was an act of divine exuberance, and that our failures have not fundamentally canceled. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, says wisdom, says Sophia. The waiting is daily. At the ordinary doors of ordinary mornings, wisdom is there before us, already calling and already glad. Noah builds through the ridicule of a drowning world. Isaiah's child is given into the deepest of darkness. 40 soldiers stand in a frozen lake and see a light come down. And wisdom waits at the crossroads of this ordinary Monday, delighting in us before we have done anything to deserve it, calling in a voice older than the mountains. The 40 held their formation. The ark is still floating. The light is still descending. And we are invited simply to stay in the water. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Have a great day, and God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.